Hello and welcome back to the Angelati studio. I'm joined now by Philipp Gruner, who's the CEO of KG Technologies. And Philipp, you were actually the first interview I ever did last year at Euorpean Utility Week, and we were talking about standards. And then we did another interview when we were down in South Africa, where we talked about some of the issues with smart meter rollout delays. And to carry on the conversation so that we don't go over old ground, because standards take a long time, so I would imagine that conversation is still relevant. We were talking a little bit off air about energy theft, security on these new smart meters to avoid tampering and things like that. And where are you guys with that in terms of being manufacturers of the relay systems that go into that?
Well, the relay is, of course, a critical component inside the meter, allowing the utility company to have control of the electricity, being able to disconnect on demand. And there's always innovative ways to find tampering. And so there has been some feedback from the market that there's been some tampering that can be done with the relays. So we took that to heart. We went back to the drawing board, and we're developing products now that will be very tamper resistant. I can't say tamper proof because you can never underestimate the ingenuity of people. But in terms of what is currently being used for tampering, our products that will be released next year will be very tamper resistant.
Because that's one of the promises of the smart meter, the smart grid, that the energy loss from unbilled energy, electricity in your case, gets reduced. So, but what you're saying is that actually there's an inherent vulnerability within the smart meters, and what sort of tampering are you seeing then?
Well, it's using external magnets to tamper with either the communications.
I'm just trying to pick up some tips.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I hope there's no liability here, but there have been ways to tamper with external magnets. Now, meter manufacturers have already built in magnetic systems or magnetic detection systems to be able to tell when this kind of tampering is taking place. But it's our job to make sure that this is not an issue that could affect us from a relay side. So we've developed a line of products that will be immune to external magnetics, and thereby actually reducing the total cost of the meter. You don't have to have those tamper detection systems inside. You don't need to have communications extra that communicate back when there has been a tamper detected. So it's a matter of reducing the overall cost by offering some more features within the product.
And do you still, as a manufacturer, then have a duty of care? Because it was one of the things we talked about when it was South Africa, about the safety of it. Even though someone's tampering with this thing, you don't want to give them that big an electric shock. You might want to give them a little one, but not that big an electric shock that that then creates physical harm. That must be quite a hard balance.
Well, yeah, the safety is always the key issue. We always have to make sure that our product is safe for the consumers as well as the utility workers installing the product. So we've gone through many hours, thousands of hours of testing with our products to ensure that if there is a short circuit, that the product remains safe, that it's a fail-safe product. So on that end, we've already laid that foundation and have been able to carry that on into our next generation product line as well, while now tackling the next problem, which is making sure that the magnetic circuit that is within the relay cannot be tampered with. When the utility company disconnects somebody, that somebody can't remotely or turn that back on again, even though they're not supposed to.
Or strategically place their biggest speaker from their hi-fi right next to the meter.
Very true.
And one of the other things that you were talking about is the sort of, and we just touched on it off air, is the efficiency of the supply chain in terms of, I would imagine, getting the meters to market or helping utilities with that side of things as well?
Yes. Well, there's multiple ways where you can improve logistics, or the supply chain, either having more regional manufacturing or by actually offering more value-added services, so that the supply chain has multiple steps that are being reduced. So we have the ability to actually offer more than just the relay itself by having value-added processes of doing the meter-based plastics, the full assembly, thereby reducing that development time and the lead time to our customers, because the rollouts and these tender bids are usually quite short noticed. So when something opens up, you have to be able to react quickly, and it's our job to assist our customers to ensure that they have a viable chance to actually get that business.
And is that because you are, and someone mentioned that in another meeting I was at, that we've gone from meters that were installed and stayed installed for 50 years to a world where actually, what's the lifetime of these things? 10 years, something like that.
They normally have to be warranted for up to 20 years. Right. But some reports came out that indicate that there's even a turnaround with as short as 3 to 5 years, right, because of increased technology, better efficiency levels. Especially in developing countries, you may start out with a lower current meter, but the economy is developing at such a rate that now you need to replace those meters with higher current, because the average user now is able to actually afford more things in their home that draw more current.
And that's what's causing you to see how can we consolidate the supply chain, get better transparency.
Exactly.
So you can react to the... It's sounding remarkably like a move towards a much more retail style supply chain than what I've heard in the past.
Yeah, and that makes it difficult, because it's a lot of customization that's involved. Our products for one customer will not fit into the product from another customer. The plastics are all different, so customization is key. Flexibility is key in the manufacturing, and you have to then all of a sudden be very flexible in the supply chain as well. Time is money. So getting that product quickly to your customers, making sure that you reduce the amount of labor that's involved in once they get the product. These are all key factors, whether that is optimizing the packaging so it can be used for automated manufacturing, or having more value-added processes so that they don't have to have parts welded on or soldered on, simply drop-in replacement, plug-and-play type of situation.
And what are some of the demands that you're seeing from customers in terms of, we want this, because, and this may be a naive question, but I would have thought that everybody's selling the same electrons, that you would imagine that the requirements of one utility aren't that different from another utility. So what is it that the utilities are trying to do at the meter level? Are they using the meter to differentiate themselves and services, or?
Well, some utilities have additional standards that go beyond the international requirements of, let's say, IEC or ANSI. But primarily the differences are not within the internals of the relay, but on the external parts. How the copper and the bus bars are actually run inside the meter. And that's where it varies greatly. Some customers may want the relay on one side of the meter, some want it right in the middle, some want it on the other side. And that affects then how the product is developed and manufactured. So there's a huge variance, even though the core product is the same. And it'll be able to switch the same whether it's in Europe or South Africa or Brazil, but how that product actually fits into the plastics of the meter varies greatly depending on customer and region.
You must be waiting for the day when everybody wants the same thing and you just concentrate on shipping it out.
Yes and no. There's a benefit of being designed in. That is a very customized design, because at that point you offer a service to your customer that they truly value.
So, and that can then go back to, hey, if we work with you, you can actually use the meter to differentiate yourselves and things like that. And this is a bit more of a holistic question, and it's coming to the end of the sort of time we've got in the studio today. But are you seeing companies, and I read a number of articles about this, where they're using the fact that the meter is there, it's tapped into a fairly high resilient network to offer new services like telecare or home alert systems. Is that some of the things you're getting involved with or potentially seeing in the market?
We are, but those are then two different kinds of products. One is more of a load management, while the other one is a service disconnect. That then allows either to disconnect the entire household or individual utilities or appliances or outlets, circuits. So we do see that differentiation, and in some cases it even gets integrated into the meter, where you then have multiple circuits within the meter that we then have to connect and provide that functionality to our customers, again, to reduce the supply chain, allowing them to simply take everything, plug it in, and they're done with the assembly.
And I always find that it's a great barometer of how healthy the investment levels are from the utilities when you talk to companies like yourselves that make the components. Someone once told me we could have seen the .com dip coming if we would have paid attention to the fact that circuit boards shipping dipped in China. So based on that barometer, if I can ask you the question is, do you think that the investment levels in this new technology is at a healthy level, or are we still at a plateau in terms of where we were last year to this year?
I think there was a plateau, maybe even a little bit of a dip due to the economic recessions within Europe. The United States is being more cautious about its investments into the European market, the US market. So I think that investing into your infrastructure should be a key goal for any country that is wanting to come out of a recession. Because if you're looking for a quick ramp up, once the economy picks up again, you need that infrastructure. So it's one of those catch-22s where you don't want to spend the money, but you need to be prepared for when it gets better. So I think the level of investment definitely, in my opinion, should be upped because it creates jobs. It creates an infrastructure that will be healthy then for years to come and allow you to recover at a much quicker pace than if you just keep the status quo.
So I get a sense you've still got that frustration in terms of, hey, the investments aren't coming, and we had a conversation with Kim from Elster earlier on this morning, who was like saying, well, we're ready. I'm like, well, if everybody's ready, who's the roadblock? And it sounds like there's still a bit of work to be done there.
I think everybody's waiting for that breakthrough moment again. We saw it happening in the USA in 2009 when the Obama administration made a big investment into the infrastructure. And you see it in China with the state grid. And if you look at China, their growth may have slowed down, but they're still in a growth model, right? So making sure that those people are employed and are able to actually then be consumers into the market to stabilize that economy, I think that's key.
No, absolutely. And Philipp, pleasure once again talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And thank you again for watching. This has been another interview at the Angerati studio at a very busy European Utility Week when we look around, because for the first time, Philipp, we've got the benefit of actually seeing what's going on. Thank you for watching, and this interview and all the other presentations will be available online on Angerati, and thanks once again.